copper over time has gradually become one of the more interesting minerals inside of Minecraft, and today I'm going to be attempting to gather 1 million pieces of copper. And I think places I want to start is actually caves I've already been in, because copper, if I'm honest, has been one of those things I've just never been bothered to pick up. So hopefully there should be enough charter territory to get a decent amount of copper. Okay, these caves have way more copper in it than I thought, because I've not really been going for too long and I already have like this much copper. So maybe in some cases this challenge won't be as hard as I thought. Wait, actually, I know where I could find like a ton of copper. I keep trying to find the place I want to show you, but I keep running into more copper. Maybe taking the long way around isn't such a bad thing after all. Here it is, my old strip mine. There's almost bound to be at least a good chunk of copper around the place here. And I kept going around caves and around strip mines around spawn for the rest of the day. Until the end, we've ended up with this much copper, plus a smidge of iron here and there. And if we place this all down and then fortune it all up, and from day one alone, we've ended up with 6,026 pieces of copper. And unlike my bamboo challenge, I should have to use a whole lot less shulker boxes. I mean, think about it. For every 9 pieces of copper ingots, we can make a copper block, which we can then stack all the way up to 64. And 27 of those stacks can fit inside of one single shulker box, which we could then sort inside of a double chest. Meaning by the end of this challenge, we should have around about 65 shulker boxes, which should fit in around about a double chest and a half. And honestly, considering the pace we had from day one, I'm still really motivated to do more mining. I know that's gonna change eventually, but at least for right now, we can continue to do mining. And after another full day of going through a whole bunch of old caves and strip mines and things like that, and after all that mining, we're well over a 65th of the way there. And who would have thought going into bigger, newer caves to give you more resources than the smaller, older ones? And my plans for day 3 are pretty much exactly the same as the first 2, with one little exception being I kind of want to see if I could find a zombie spawner. If I'm really lucky, a couple zombie spawners next to each other. For one big reason, and one big reason only, to make a drowned copper farm. And I mean, if I can't find one, it's not the end of the world. There are other ways of making drowned copper farms, which, if I'm honest, are probably more efficient than the spawner ones. But who knows, if I find one, I'll give it a chance. In actuality, while working on a different future survival project, I remember finding a zombie spawner that's really close to the surface. I couldn't remember exactly where I found it before, but I had a few good ideas as to where I could look. Until eventually... Ooh. Wait a minute. Yeah, I found it, okay. I knew this thing was around here somewhere, I just couldn't remember where. So I've never really made a proper drown farm before, but all I do know is it involves waterlogging cobwebs, getting zombies stuck in them until they turn into drown, and then killing them. That shouldn't be too hard to do on my own. Alright, I think everything's set up. And to test this, all we gotta do is stand here to let the mob spawner still work, and just wait and see if any drowns manage to pop down there. Okay, it's been like a minute, I'm hearing tons of zombies, but... this thing is way slower than I thought. Oh, hey, look, it worked. Only took 5 minutes of waiting, but we finally managed to get some, and we're getting even more. And then when we turn this on, those things will die, and everything will collect down there. I think because this is gonna be a bit of a wait, I am gonna set up a small little furnace system right here, just so I can start getting some of this copper smelted. And yeah, while this isn't gonna be a fast farm, I am willing to give it at least a try. And after AFKing for a few days, well, I gave it a good shot. A shot I'd really only use again if I have to AFK for smelting copper. But I guess we could go back to the reliable way. But let's be honest, there's only really so many times I could go through old existing caves I've already explored. So sooner rather than later, we are gonna have to figure out some other way in getting a bunch of copper. And so over the next 2 days, while thinking about it, I did go through a whole bunch more old caves. And after all that, we're actually sitting in a pretty decent place when it comes to the amount of copper we have, and actually finally figured out what we could do to stop us from having to go back to old caves. Build a drown farm that's actually really efficient. Yeah, who would have thought? And I'm sure Silent Whisper won't mind if I borrow this super simple and super efficient design, which over the course of like an hour, I actually built up in an entirely different video. And so hopefully with this farm and my continued mining efforts, we should be able to get to 1 million copper eventually. Hopefully a little bit sooner than I originally thought, which might actually happen because over the next 2 weeks, I've been doing a whole bunch of mining as well as a whole bunch of AFKing while smelting this copper. And after that time, our results came in and they were actually pretty impressive. Right now, we have well over 81,000 pieces of copper we could see right here. And I feel like this farm really did help a lot, but I do definitely think that the mining aspect was the real champion of this entire thing so far. But now we're running into another issue, which is what you can see behind me, and that's the fact that these things behind me aren't really that fast. And considering we're collecting up a lot of copper really quickly, we're gonna need some form of like better super smelter than this. So normal furnaces, I love you, but blast furnaces are gonna be the real champions of this entire thing. And actually, it might just be worth building a small super smelter right here. And now with this thing built up, let's give it a test go. For now, I'm just gonna fuel this thing up with wood, and it looks like things are working pretty well. But what about when we actually start smelting some copper? Start putting this in here. Oh, and it's going out, coming back, and things are getting smelted. And collecting down here really quickly, if I'm honest. I mean, when you really think about it, a normal furnace can smelt about 6 items per minute, whereas a blast furnace can smelt about 12 items per minute. Meaning a system like this should be able to smelt about 192 items per minute. Meaning I should be able to smelt down an entire shulker box of raw copper in about 81 minutes. Which, yeah, obviously, is way more reasonable than what we had before. But then after just under a month and doing more mining, AFKing, and smelting, and now we've ended up with well over 400,000 pieces of copper. But we're running into a different issue now, which is the fact that I think I've cleared out pretty much all the caves and everything else in the main area of my survival world. Which is the problem because mining has still been like the most efficient way in getting a whole bunch of copper. And I've really just been trying to stay in like the main area of my survival world. But I think we're now at the point where we're gonna have to do some exploring in unexplored chunks now, because unfortunately the copper well of the chunks already loaded in has been pretty much cleared out. But actually I remember there were these caves right here, which actually had a whole bunch more like caverns and areas I just never bothered exploring, with me still maybe missing a bit of copper here and there. Here it is, here it is. And aren't dripstone caves like filled with copper? Yeah, kind of answered my own question right there. Kind of answered my question really easily right here. Okay, I just mined out this tiny cave area with all that copper we saw right there, and look at that! Like, well over 3 stacks of copper. And even more massive veins I missed over here. So in terms of this challenge, dripstone caves is definitely gonna be the way to go. Honestly, at this rate, I wouldn't be surprised if I was at or really close to like the million mark. So for the next few weeks, I did nothing but focus on finding dripstone caves and mining out literally all the copper I could find inside of them. And okay, my predictions were mildly off, but still, having over 700,000 pieces of copper is still pretty impressive. And the fact that I actually know where I need to look now, it definitely helps me out, and I think if I really grind out over the next week, I could be done with this project. Typically, at most, I do probably about a few hours of grinding a day, but if I just spent a week of just doing nothing but grinding, I could possibly be done with this challenge. But let's actually see how this goes. Well, already off to a good start. A very good start. An unbelievably good start. There's a cave down here. And yep, just what I was looking for. And after a day pretty much non-stop mining, we're at around about 6 shulker boxes now. And if my math is correct, I'm gonna need around about 14 more, which is definitely doable. But seriously, doing nothing but like mining for about 8 hours in one day, it takes a lot out of you. But hopefully day 2 will be a little bit more reasonable. And after doing more mining in dripstone caves and even finding some really big copper veins, I could safely say that day 2 was so much worse than day 1. Both mentally and physically, because today I didn't even get 5 full shulker boxes of copper. And I feel like the act of me just constantly mining over and over again over the past 2 months and constantly mining over and over again over the past 2 days is really starting to catch up with me. But it's fine. We have like 8 or 9 or something like that shulker boxes left to go. We could do that. This challenge is making me lose my mind. You remember when society had mental asylums for crazy people? Well, we might need to bring that back pretty soon because I'm going insane with all this. And yeah, I only have like less than 3 shulker boxes left to fill. And that's a very doable thing, but dude, I am so done with this project. Like, seriously, you have no idea. You know, after sleeping on it, I'm actually feeling way more motivated now. Maybe it's just the fact that we are literally like on the edge of finishing this up. Oh. Guess I was already in this cave. But not for the copper, obviously. And while doing this mining, I have been thinking about what I should do with all this copper. I do have some ideas, including some ideas for all that bamboo I gathered about a year ago. I'll save those projects for another video, but yeah, let's finish up this copper challenge. Alright, 1 shulker box down, 2 more to go. And I'm not sure whether I should be annoyed or not about this, but I'm just feeling a huge burst of motivation to do more mining. Probably just comes from the fact that we're almost done with this challenge. I don't know, I guess better late than never in this case. Alright, we got 2 boxes filled, only 1 more to go. Which we could totally get done in a reasonable time. We could totally do it. About 9 stacks to go. About nine more stacks to go. Which again, very doable. We can do this. And after another hour of going around and doing more copper mining, one more stack to go. That's all we need to do, just get one more stack of raw copper. And to mix up in this final stack, and so I don't have to do more exploring, we're gonna go with these water caves I've never been into. I'm not even gonna ask what's happening here, and let's just focus on this last stack. And even though I've cleared out a huge chunk of area inside my main survival area, I just have a hunch that, like, there's gonna be some small area I just missed. Or, knowing me, a whole huge amount of area I missed. But shouldn't matter too much now because we did it. We absolutely did it. 1 million pieces of copper. Let's really quickly take this copper back over here. And yep, there it is, the over 1 million pieces of copper just inside these two chests. And unlike my bamboo challenges, copper shouldn't be collecting too much just for too long. But yeah, like, subscribe, etc. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.